Alright, let's begin with Digi-Egg cards. I'm running 4 copies of the BT6 Tsunomon just to give us additional draw power as we trash cards from our hand, which is our main way to help us filter and find our pieces. And now let's move on to level 3s. I'm running 2 copies of the Nightmare Soldiers Digimon to help us search for anything within the archetype, as well as anything that's Fallen Angel as well. With its inherent effect, we get to draw one and trash one when attacking, which is always great to continuously help us cycle through and also pitch away cards that we need to set up in the trash that can be played out later on. And the reason why I'm not running 4 copies of this card, as you guys may know from the gameplay video, I am running the Dark Animal engine, which is why I want to prioritize most of the rookie slots for that instead. And of course, which is why we need to include the 4 copies of Goblimon to gain a memory whenever we trash a card with its inherent effect. Same reason to play the 2 copies of Labramon to help us grab anything that is Dark Animal, as well as Shaman pieces back that we need from the trash, such as Anubis, and we also get to gain a memory back whenever we play a Digimon by an effect too. Now I know some of you guys are not a fan of the Dark Animal engine overall, and don't worry, I also posted a deck list on the AVAULT Club membership which plays the pure Nightmare Soldiers archetype entirely. If you want to check that out, be sure to join the AVAULT Club, and I really appreciate the support. Then to round up for the rest of the rookies, I'm running 2 Gazis as my main floodgate of choice, and of course this can always change depending on the meta and what you need to counter. Then let's now talk about our level 4s, starting off with 3 copies of the brand new Digimon from EX8, which is also Nightmare Soldiers trait related. Whenever you play or digivolve into this guy, by trashing a card from your hand, you can give one of your opponent's Digimon on deletion, they're going to have to trash a card off their hand as well. You're going to continue to wipe their board and continue to delete their stuff constantly, so you always want to make sure to target the things that you're about to delete in that same exact turn. Keep in mind, this effect also lasts until the opponent's turn. With its inherent effect, just like the Nightmare Soldier Digimon, you also get to, when attacking, draw one and trash one as well. Then as we move on to the rest of the level 4s, and of course predominantly the Dark Animal engine, I'm running 4 copies of Dober X in order to draw one and trash one when we digivolve. We also get its on-play effect to give something retaliation if we have X antibody underneath it, and with its inheritable, gaining a memory back afterwards when we play a Digimon is always nice too, to rack up so we can continue to keep our turn. And since the whole idea is to draw and trash cards as quickly as possible, that's why I also included the Gurumon X antibody to help facilitate that too. Aside from that, I'm also playing Ogremon from BT14. Whenever we trash a card from hand, we get to gain a memory, and same goes for the inheritable, which is always really nice, just like Goblimon. That's it for level 4s. Level 5s, running 4 copies of Cerberus X to help us again draw and trash cards when we digivolve, and make sure that we want to have proto form underneath it so that we get to play a level 3 back. This is why I want to prioritize actually playing the Digimon, so I can utilize this on-play effect to continue to fetch and find my top end pieces, as I need to find my Piedmon, my Nightmare Soldiers, my Boltboutamon as well, to ensure that I can get into them afterwards too. Then as the second level 5, running 3 copies of the ALittleSpoon for Nightmare Soldiers. I don't find myself using it when attacking as often, just because I want to utilize its secondary effect to let me DNA by playing itself out, or when I play another Nightmare Soldier, I can immediately go along with Piedmon to bring out Boltboutamon. Remember guys, its second effect also counts as seeing itself when it's on plate immediately, so you can DNA right away and then attack with it as well afterwards, which is really nice. Its inherited effect is just like Cerberus X, delete one of your other Digimon to unsuspend this Digimon so you can make multiple attacks, multiple checks, and that's how you really do damage quickly in this deck as well. That's it for level 5s. Now let's talk about level 6s, starting with Piedmon Ace. I'm running 3 copies of it as the main ace choice to counter against the opponents. When you play or digivolve into this card, you get to DP minus your opponent's Digimon by 2000 4 times, and you can scatter it across. Generally, you actually want to just focus on one stack, because afterwards when you go into Boltboutamon, it will just do the rest and clear off the entire rest of the board. But at the end of the day, it really just depends on how much Digimon your opponent has and how wide the board is, and that's how you want to scatter out the DP reduction effects. And aside from that, all turns when another Digimon is deleted, you can always play back a Nightmare Soldier that is level 4 or lower as well. This works exceptionally well with the inherited effects of ALittleSpoon and Cerberus X, because you can delete your own, play it back out with Piedmon, and you just never lost the body to begin with. Then I also tacked in 1 copy of Callismon. We intend to just hard digivolve on top of this, since we don't play the DNA requirements for Nightmare Soldiers along with this card, but the whole intention of playing this card is to help us remove Tamers, which is really important. Aside from that, it can gain DP, potentially piercing, and security +1, which is really good for damage too. Then to round off the level 6s, of course, gotta include the one of Anubis, which is incredibly strong in this deck. Being able to see this card as your first stack is really what helps you scale and turbo all the way to a very strong late game very quickly. Because once you build this as your first stack, you can then easily build a second one by playing out ALittleSpoon or play out Piedmon Ace, and then you can instantly DNA them into Boltboutamon, which is always really good. And this is where we'll talk about our main level 7, which I'm running 3 copies of the main boss Digimon of the Nightmare Soldiers itself, Boltboutamon. This card, you can easily DNA any of your level 6s together. Otherwise, you want to DNA a Piedmon along with ALittleSpoon, which is more efficient. That way, when you go into it, you get to de-digivolve 3 on one of your opponent's Digimon. Afterwards, you give a blanket -6k for the entire turn. Usually, this is enough to wipe out your opponent's entire board. And then you also get to play up to 10 play cost worth of Nightmare Soldiers back from the trash as well. By DNA and racking up a lot of inheritables, you can suspend multiple times with this guy and make multiple attacks and finish your opponents off out of nowhere. And I can't wait to show you guys how explosive this deck can be in the combo section later on, because its other effect also trashes the opponent's security all turns whenever another Digimon is deleted as well, which again synergizes very nicely with Cerberus X and Myotis in herd effects. That's it for all of Digimon, and now let's talk about our Tamers, which I'm only running one Tamer, which is the ST16 Mat as my memory setter, but also just to gain additional memory whenever I trash cards from my hand. Then moving into options, running 2 copies of Nightmare Soldiers. Really interesting how these are sort of like the new field spell per se, or sort of like a field option card. By tucking it underneath the bottom of your security and then adding your bottom security to the hand is really nice cycle. You can make sure you grab the pieces that you need there, and then the fact that it's being face up and your security being the last one, it gives all of your Nightmare Soldiers that level 4 or higher Scapegoat. Now with Scapegoat, you can always protect your Nightmare Soldiers if it ever will be deleted by effects or by battle by just deleting another thing. And this once again, it synergizes with archetype because a lot of the cards effects such as Piedmon and Boltboutamon have additional effects whenever something else is deleted. Last but not least, with it being the final security, letting you play a level 5 or lower, you can put down a Myotis and then you threaten a Piedmon Ace potentially if your opponent tries to finish you off. And we are running the Dark Animal engine after all, which is why I have to include the 3 copies of Proto Form and no less. You guys might even want to bump it up to 4, and that's really important to help you get your on-play effects as you climb into Dober X, but most importantly for Cerberus X so that you can play a level 3 Digimon back from the trash and also climb up your stack as quickly as possible. Then to round up for the rest of the staple options, I'm running 4 copies of Wisdom Training, 3 copies of Purple Memory Boost, and 2 Purple Scrambles. Tech choices and other cards that you guys can also include in this build. Aside from Gazimon, you can play Psychmon as the alternative Floodgate. Gobble X is also really good to help you fetch for pieces, predominantly trying to find your Proto Form and also trashing cards from your hand afterwards so you can set up for later on. Dobermon can also be included to help you maximize your efficiency when you go into Dober X. You also get to draw additional cards when you play something, and with its on-play effect or when you Digivolve, you also get something blocker which this deck doesn't normally have. Since this deck plays a lot of Digimon off by effects, you can also include the BT19 Lord Nightmon, simply just to play something back out from the trash for 3 costs when you Digivolve into it. And to continue to expand it even further, you can include the good old Omnimon Zwart from BT5, aside from just Boltboutamon, which can help you go even wider, which is really good at establishing broad pressure against your opponents. And then last but not least, Calling from Darkness is always a fantastic purple staple to help you grab pieces back you need in the trash later stages in the game if you ever need to recycle any resources, but also being able to delete one of your own Digimon again helps you trigger your Boltboutamon and your Piedmon's secondary effects, which is always really nice. Alright, combos and how to play the Nightmare Soldiers deck with the Dark Animal engine. As you guys are most familiar with it, you're trying to build your stack anyway, so you want to see your 3s, 4s, and 5s and climb up. Therefore, in the beginning, you want to see your mulligan hand to have Wisdom Training, Purple Memory Boost to help you search. You want to start with Gobblemon as well. Nightmare Soldiers is technically also a really great option card because it actually gives you a card from security that you can utilize. Eventually, when you climb up into Dober X, Cerberus X, you're going to need to have Proto Form so that you can go into your level 6s and continue to play, and then eventually DNA into Boltboutamon. To begin with combo number 1, I'm going to show you guys the standard Dark Animal engine to climb up into Cerberus X as soon as possible, and all you need is 1 memory with Gobblemon ready to come out and raising. You want to have Proto Form to use it so that you can Digivolve into Dober X for 1 cost. Dober X is going to draw your card and you're going to trash a card. Cards you want to ideally trash are either going to be your Demi-Devimon or your Devimon, which are your Nightmare Soldiers. These are the cards that you don't really want to Digivolve within your stack because you want to always play them out with other effects later on. Now once you trash the card off your hand, you're going to gain a memory with Gobbly and draw another card of Tsunomon. Then you're going to end off by Digivolving into Cerberus X to draw and trash one once again, trashing Devimon. And it's pretty important to make sure you set up a Demi-Devimon because then you can play it out with its other effect. And once Demi-Devimon is played out, Dober X is going to gain your memory for playing. And once Demi-Devimon is played out, you're going to go find the rest of your cards right here that you can utilize and continue to play. By establishing a Cerberus X antibody outside the battle area early, you're threatening a potential Blast Ace into a Piedmon Ace. If they attempt to attack you, this is where you will go ahead and punish them, DP reduce them, take down their Digimon with the DP reduction, and afterwards you can also play out the Devimon if you delete something, which is going to be really good value for you as you have set up an even wider board. For the second combo, I'm going to show you guys what you can do with a ALittleSpoon stack instead of Cerberus X. You want to have a setup where at least you want to have 2 Devimons and 1 Demi-Devimon in the trash, along with Nightmare Soldiers to provide you scapegoat. And you start your turn at 1 memory. You go ahead and attack with ALittleSpoon and use this one attacking effect to play out Demi-Devimon. Search with it, and then because you played something by an effect, you get to gain a memory with Dober X. If ALittleSpoon would be deleted except by your own effects, such as the security battle, or your opponent tries to delete it and countering the attack, you can always use scapegoat to delete the Demi-Devimon to keep it on the board. By keeping the ALittleSpoon on the board, this is why I'm going to show you guys how to DNA into Boltboutamon. Very simply, just hard play the Piedmon Ace for the full 7 cost. With its on-play effect, you get to DP reduce a bunch of stuff and make sure to remove your opponent's Digimon if you can. Because once you do, you get to play out a level 4 Nightmare Soldiers. You want to play a Devimon off of the effect. Now you can go ahead and trash a card using its on-play effects first, so that you can give your opponent's Digimon on deletion, they have to trash a card from hand. By trashing a card from your hand off the Devimon, you get to gain 1 off Gobbly and draw another off Suno. Now you get to activate ALittleSpoon's effect. Because you played out a Piedmon or because of Devimon, you can go ahead and DNA into a Boltboutamon. By going into Boltboutamon, you get to D-Digivolve 3 on 1 of your opponent's Digimon and give them a blanket minus 6k until the end of this particular turn. This is why it's really important to also choose how you want to DP reduce with Piedmon Ace. If your opponent has multiple Digimon, you can scatter the DP reduction effects, where Boltboutamon will finish the rest. Afterwards, you can now play up to 10 play cost worth of Nightmare Soldiers cards. This will let you play out Devimon, and let's just go for Demi-Devimon. And the reason why I want to play Devimon is because I want to recycle all the inheritables that I've used once again. So I'm going to trash a card from my hand, which is going to be Demi-Devimon here, and give another opponent's Digimon on deletion, they have to trash a card from hand. Because I trashed a card from my hand, Gobbly is going to gain me a memory, Suno's going to draw me another one at this point. Dober X is also going to gain additional memory because I played Digimon out by effect. Now if you remove your opponent's Digimon, you get to trash your opponent's security thanks to all turns effect of Boltboutamon. And if your opponent doesn't have a Digimon to begin with, don't worry, because ALittleSpoon is going to let you resolve attack before your turn ends. So you're going to swing with Boltboutamon and use the ALittleSpoon inherited effect to delete your Demi-Devimon to unsuspend. Because another Digimon is deleted, it doesn't have to be your opponent's, you still get to trash your opponent's security. For the third combo, I'm going to show you guys how you can potentially go for an OTK and finish your opponents off while building a crazy nasty board. This is what the setup you want to have. You want to have Piedmon Ace, a Devimon, and Nightmare Soldiers, and of course Devi and Demi-Devimon in your trash that you can play back out. You're going to start your turn with 1 memory again. You're going to go ahead and swing with Piedmon Ace. You're going to delete the Devimon to unsuspend with Cerberus X. By deleting it, your Piedmon will let you play the Devimon back. By playing it back out, use its on-play effect to trash a card from your hand, and also give a debuff to your opponent's Digimon. Since you played a Digimon by effect, Dober X is going to gain your memory. Since you trash a card from hand, Gobbly is also going to gain your memory and draw 1 off Suno. Now you can make another attack here. If your Piedmon ever would be threatened, this is where you can use Scapegoat to delete Devimon. Assuming it survives, this is where you can actually continue to pressure. What you want to do next is Digivolve into ALittleSpoon for the 3 costs. You want to go ahead and DNA into Boltboutamon. With Boltboutamon, you're going to reset all the inheritables because it's DNA Digivolve, and just like before, you get to play up to 10 play cost worth of stuff. Always play the Devimon because you want to trash a card from your hand. With Devimon's effect on play, you're going to trash one to give something a debuff once again. D-Digivolve with Boltboutamon, delete that Digimon that they have on the board, and since because you played a Digimon, Dober X to gain a memory, since you trash a card, Gobbly to gain a memory and draw once again with Suno. Since your opponent's Digimon was deleted, you also trash another security. Now you're putting down to your opponent down to 2 or fewer security left at this moment, so you're going to go ahead and swing with Boltboutamon. You're going to use the Cerberus X to delete the Demi-Devimon to unsuspend. Also draw one and trash one with Devimon. And then you swing again with Boltboutamon, use ALittleSpoon's inherited effect to delete Devimon to unsuspend, and they should be down at 0 security at this moment, and then you can use the final swing and finish it off. The Crimson Saber playmat and sleeves are now available on the AVAULT store, along with the Chaos Saber mat, where I have a 2-player version, and sleeves which are exclusive during this limited time release only. So make sure to grab yours right away, and thank you guys so much for the support. As always, you guys have a great day, great night, wherever you are, and see you in the next video. And this is AVAULT signing out.